Hey everybody, we're back for another Acceptable Casualties battle report. Today we're going to be doing part 1 of the redemption campaign for the Penal Battalion. So we'll be back in a second to go over the lists and then the scenario. So here we have the 6th Independent Penal Battalion. This is not going to be a historical campaign. This is pretty much just me and Vin having a little bit of fun over like a 3-game span. So right here you have about 1,500 points of Penal Battalion. Down here we have the 1IC, 2IC Battalion Commissar. Above them we have 2 full Penal Battalions with 3 squads each, all armed with SMGs. They have the Commissar attached as well. This platoon over here, or company over here, has 3 of the sappers, 2 flamethrowers, 2 anti-tank rifles, and a 45mm. This one has the same exact thing, except they have 1 less sapper. Down here we have a unit of the medium mortars without the observer, and above them we have a unit of Katyushas with an observer. Altogether it's around 1,500 points. They're going to be fearless trained. We'll be back in a second to go over the German list. So here we have Vin's Sperverband list. They're going to be coming in at 1250. Like I said, these are themed games, so they're not going to be completely balanced. And when we go over the deployment and the setup for the table, we'll kind of get a little bit more in depth as what we're looking to do. But down here we have the 1IC and 2IC armed with SMGs. Vin then has 3 identical platoons of Sperverband, all with rifle MGs. Above them they have a unit of heavy mortars with 2 observers, a unit of PaK 40s. Above them they have some Panzer Grenadiers with machine guns, and then 3 of the Panzer IVs. The Sperverband are going to be reluctant veteran, and the Panzer Grenadiers and Panzer IVs are going to be confident vet. So we'll be back in a second to kind of go over the mission and deployment. Alright everybody, so we're back for deployment, and also we're going to go over like the idea behind the campaign. So what we were thinking was we were going to do a Penal Battalion campaign, pretty much the start of a specific lieutenant that you guys have seen in the lead up to the video, and their journey from the 6th Independent Penal Battalion. Vin's still laughing about the picture. And the 6th Independent Penal Battalion over 3 missions fighting against the lines outside of Minsk. So this is what we're looking at for the campaign. Like I said, really not historical at all. More just like something fun for us to do, and it's a reason for me to use the Penal Battalion list, which I love to lose with. So yeah, it's going to be like 3 missions. The first one's going to be this one right here of the Penal Battalion testing the lines along a crossroad to see if they can punch through and then get supported by Strakovy and Tankovy and try to push the Germans back here. So that's going to be the first mission, and then every mission after that is going to progressively get harder for the Penal Battalion, and hopefully we'll have like that last Ura charge in the 3rd and final mission to kind of wrap things up. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Like I said, not historical at all, so if you guys were looking for a historical campaign, I apologize. This is more just like a fun campaign, looking to get some laughs out of it. For the mission right now, pretty much what you see is what you guys get. There's 2 objectives down here. There's one at the crossroads, and there's one up there on the hill. All I need to do is capture one of these to win the game. The catch is up there on the hills. Vin has his observer there, so as long as he has an observer or an officer over there with his vantage point looking over the battlefield, Vin's going to be able to reroll all of his mortar tests. So not only just the 1st, but the 2nd and the 3rd attempts. So he should be able to do some damage with those guys. And then down here on the crossroads, there's really nothing special about this one. For Vin's reserves coming in, he has everybody on the table. The only people he has with reserves are going to be his half-track Panzer Grenadiers and his Panzer IVs. They'll be coming in from some separate divisions that are going to be up and down on the road over here. So Vin's going to have delayed reserves, so when those guys end up coming in, whether it's turn 3 or later than that, Vin's going to roll some dice, and then it'll end up being like a 1, 2, 3. They'll come in off that road. 4, 5, 6, they'll come in and off of this road. So it'll be kind of random, but he has to come in off the road on the table edge. So that's pretty much all that's going to be happening for the mission. Like I said, I have to capture one of these objectives. It's roughly 1,500 points against 1,250 points, so it's a little lopsided for the Soviets. And I guess we'll just go over the deployment right now. So Vin has 2 of his Sperverband platoons. One's going to be guarding that objective there, and the other one's up in the front of his fence line along this house. He has one of his mortar observers down here. Behind them, supporting them, there are 2 PaK 40s that are back along this fence line for support fire. Up over here, he has another platoon of Sperverband with the observer from that platoon is up there on top of the hill, and then behind them he has his heavy mortars. Down here, Vince, is the mortar commander?
Yeah.
And then where do you have, where's your 2IC is up over here?
Yep.
And then the 1IC
Right there
is going to be down here for the Penal Battalion. As you guys can see, there's just a solid block. This is one platoon over here. This is my first platoon over here. Leading the way, we have Lieutenant Josef Veltrosky leading the charge, showing his men the honorable way to fight on the tabletop. So that's going to be the first platoon. Second platoon is down here. Over here we have our mortars, and then in the back we have our Katyushas over there, and my observer is actually tucked in right here. For those of you guys who don't know Penal Battalion rules, we are not allowed to dig in. So it's literally just push forward, push forward, push forward. We motivate on a 2-up, and then the commissar gives us the re-roll after we shoot somebody in the face. So that's, we pretty much almost can't get pinned unless, terrible dice decide to show their face. So done rambling. Gonna get into the game right now. Top of turn 1 for the Soviets. Let's get some redemption. So we are back for the top of turn 1 for the Soviets. This turn, did exactly what you guys would expect. We just moved up. I went at the double with both of these blobs, pushing up the table. I think that one over there, I'm just out of rifle range for Vin's guys on the troops, but down here, they're right in the wheelhouse of that Sperver Band platoon in the house and along that fence line. So that's all happened in movement in the shooting phase. My mortars and Katyushas over there, they both needed 6s to range in. I tried to drop a template here, but I ended up failing to range in. And then over there with the cats, I failed to range in with them as well. So shooting, nothing really happened this turn, just kind of pushing up the table aggressively. Back in a second for bottom turn 2 for the Germans. And see, Vin's gonna open up some machine gun fire here and start peeling some of these bases off, so we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the bottom of turn 1 for the Germans. On this turn, Vin just opened up. So down here, like I said, nobody moved. In the shooting phase, Vin had double shots for that whole front line. There's a couple guys in the house, guy on the street, and then down here, I think he had 16 hits going into the platoon. I ended up losing 7 bases. 7. Yeah. Well, and then the Pac 40 killed somebody too. Yeah. So it was like 6 and 7. It was 7 bases between the Pac 40s and all the machine gun fire. Kind of whittle these guys down a little bit. Over here, the rifle platoons were not in range, but Vin's heavy mortars were able to range in the middle over there. They were able to pin the unit, but he only killed one. I made a couple saves to keep some of the guys alive over there. But both of these platoons are pinned, but they do unpin on a 2-up, and I do have commissar, so hopefully I can get them moving again. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 2 for the Soviets as we continue to push up the table. So we are back for the top of turn 2 for the 6th Independent Penal Battalion. This turn, more of the same. So we just kind of pushed up with both of those platoons. I just ended up going 6 inches because next turn I'll be able to actually get some assaults off with some of the bases in there. Everybody pushed up except for the 45 millimeters in each platoon. There's one behind that tree right over there as well. They stayed still. And then in the shooting phase, I fired 3 shots into the building over here, needing 6s. I didn't get any hits. I fired 3 shots with the other 45 mil into that platoon over here. That base was in range, and I needed 6s. Wasn't able to hit there. All these guys have SMGs except for the anti-tank rifles, so really nobody was in range to shoot. What else happened? Mortars down here failed to range in. I needed 6s to range in on this back platoon over here, but my Katyushas were able to drop a template on the house. Vin ended up making 2 saves. I had 5 guys under the template. I only hit 3 of them. Vin made his 2 saves, but the unit is pinned, so they are reluctant. So so hopefully Vin's motivation plays against him this turn, and then I can get these guys into assaults with minimal overwatch. So we'll be back in a second for bottom turn 2 for the Germans to see if they can hold the line a little bit longer until the reserves start coming in. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the bottom of turn 2 for the Sperver Band. In this round, one of Vin's flanks did pretty well. The other one did all right too, but nothing fantastic. So over here, these guys failed to unpin even when they had the 1IC there to give his reroll. So nothing worked out for those guys. They're still pinned down. Shooting on this flank, Vin opened up with, I think it was like 7 or 8 rifle shots from this one platoon. Then Vin had some supporting platoon fire going above their heads and hitting the guys on the hills. And then the Pac 40s also had some shots downrange over here. Vin was able to do a pretty good amount of casualties. I'm almost at 50% right now. I think, would you kill that turn, Vin? Like 5 or 6 guys? Yeah, so there were some casualties here. As you can see, it's starting to thin out a little bit, but we are turned away from assaults over here. On this side, Vin did open up with his rifle teams over there. He was able to kill 5 bases out of there between the mortar and a couple of the rifle MG teams, and do some damage down here, but that platoon is still sitting pretty strong. So we're going into the top of turn 3 right now for the Penal Battalion. I got to really do something good here just before Ving ends up getting his reserve rolls in, or this could be pretty tough to break this alliance. So we'll be back in a flash, see how things go. So we are back for the top of turn 3. Things went pretty good for us this turn. As you guys can see with this Penal Battalion company over here, we were able to push up. We had some SMGs. We had some support from the 45mm back there. We fired a bunch of shots down here into the Sperver Band platoon that was along the fence line. I think we did, what, 1 casualty in shooting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 1 casualty in shooting. And then in assaults, we ended up almost wiping that platoon out to a man, and then Vin ended up failing his 5-up motivation because to get back into the fight after the first round of combat, and then he failed the 5-up to keep those guys on the table because they were only down to 1 or 2 bases. Over on this flank over here, we were able to push up a little bit further, but we are just out of shooting and assault range over there. So we kind of just have to stay put and wait for next turn. But we did have the 45mm that was in range. I got 2 hits. We were able to kill one of the bases down there. And we also were able to range in and drop a bombardment on those guys as well. We got 2 hits. Vin made both of his saves, but the unit is pinned. So these guys are pinned. These guys are looking pretty good. And then the Pac 40s and the mortars are also looking pretty good. So, like I said, Vin has a chance here to just hold the line a little bit longer, at least for another turn or two, when he got some reserves coming in. So we'll be back in a flash for the bottom of turn 3 Germans. So we are back for the bottom of turn 3 for the Sperver Band. Vin's reserves did not come in this turn, but Vin did do something pretty good, I think, here. So he started to do a tactical retreat and start falling back a little bit on that flank over there, trying to buy himself a little bit more time and hold that objective. Down here, he decided to stay put with these guys. He also failed to unpin that platoon back up over there.
It's kind of hard to do with a 5-up.
Yeah, the 5-up wasn't really helping. So down here, between his rifle MG fire and the Pac 40s, Vin was able to fire a couple shots down here, and he peeled off 2 or 3 bases. It was like 2 or 3. It was enough to put me in a motivation for 50% casualties, but I ended up passing with a 3. Like I said, I only needed 2 up, so they're able to hang in right now. Over here, that platoon, Vin, between machine gun fire and mortars, I think Vin killed 1 or 2 bases from this platoon, but they're still pretty strong as far as morale goes, but they are pinned down here. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 4 as the push up the table continues. I'm going to have to unpin that platoon and then continue to make a push with these guys, so we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 4. In this turn, I ended up pushing up with these guys. I got the flamer in there. I was able to kill one of Vin's bases that was inside flamethrower range and pin that unit. I shot some SMG fire as well, but no damage was done. Up over here, I had a couple rifle shots go in, and then I had that Katyusha battery still able to range in on that front line over there. Well, not range in, but I had the roll to hit, and I was able to kill 2 bases and continue to keep that unit pinned over there. I actually was able to get the corner of the template on that mortar back there, and I ended up failing to hit him over there. And down here with my mortars, they were out of range, so I just ended up pushing them up to get them in range for support for next turn. In assaults, I tried to get these guys in. Like I said, they're whittled down a little bit, so I don't have the quantities of zone quality rule. So Vin ended up getting 8 shots between that unit being pinned right there. And I think, would you have Vin? 7 hits or something like that. Yeah, he only needs 3s. So they were able to beat these guys back and pin them. And like I said, those guys over there just out of assault range right now. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 4 for the Germans, see if Vin can get any of his reserves in. We are back for the bottom of turn 4. Vin rolled double 1s on his reserve, so
This is turning into like scratching and clawing right now as far as just keeping distance here. So for the movement, obviously Vin ended up staying put over there. He didn't do anything down here. Same thing, you know, staying put over here. They had a couple of rifle shots. Like I said, the units, they didn't unpin anybody, so the couple of rifle shots down here. Vin was able to kill one base, I think, from this platoon between the teams that were here and this one Pac 40 added in. Over here between this Pac 40 and some of the rifle teams over there, Vin was able to kill, I think, 1 or 2 bases, and then the mortars fired bombardment into the middle, and I lost, I think, another guy from that. So both of my units are pinned right now. I'm gonna have to do something pretty good here, just to kind of put some more pressure back on Vin. Penal Battalion going strong. It's time, Vin.
Yeah,
Lieutenant Joseph Veltrusky.
Here's your chance.
We're charging that hill, baby. Here we go. So we'll be back in a second. Top of turn 5. Got to do this before the reserves automatically come in. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 5. Hoorah! Lieutenant Joseph Veltrusky. He has taken the hill, pushed over. We were able to break that unit with rifle fire, actually, and then we assaulted the positions, and then I was able to get close enough to one of Vin's mortar teams and capture it after consolidation. Vin wasn't able to get far enough away with their lack of movement. So they're also going to end up pinned. So we're holding the hill right now. Vin automatically does get 1 platoon to come in, so he might be able to take this hill back over here. Down on this flank, we were able to kill 1 base with some of the mortar fire, since my guys were in range right now. And then we also attempted some SMGs and then into an assault, but Vin also got 5 hits again, so he was able to beat this platoon back. I lost 1 base, but you know, they're still hanging in. And then back over here at the Katyushas, I ended up being out of range, so I just ended up driving them up to get them in a little bit better position, do a little support fire if needed. So that's what we're looking at right now for the top of turn 5. We'll be back in a second for bottom turn 5. Vin's guaranteed at least the half tracks to come in on the table right now, so we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the end of the game, bottom of turn 5. Vin was able to get 1 of his platoons on. It was the half tracks. We agreed before game 2, the first platoon from reserves that has to come on was going to be the half tracks, since they are going to be a little bit faster on the roads than the tanks. That's how we kind of just decided to play it. So they would be the first ones to come in, and the tanks would be second, but Vin was only going to get 1 reserve in this turn. So they ended up coming on. I guess we'll take care of that side of the table first. So they came on between machine gun shots from them, some rifle shots, because these guys failed to unpin. Vin was able to rip off a decent chunk of casualties there, and then in the assault, we had an assault that went back like 2 or 3 times. I ended up rolling in one of the turns. I rolled a 1, and then I had the reroll with my 1 IC. I rolled another 1, and then I just had my battalion commissar within 8 inches of the combat to start it off. So I was able to get the commissar reroll. I ended up passing that, but like I said, he was like way out. He's way out of the combat, but he was able to work his way into it. So I just kind of lucked out on that one with some really bad dice. So we were able to beat Vin back, and now we hold this objective over here. Down on this side, excuse me. Vin had some shooting from all of these rifle teams. They ended up staying pinned again, and I think Vin killed like 1 or 2 bases out of there. And then the Pac 40s over here, they fired down, and they were able to, I think, pluck 1 guy out over there. So this is the end of game. We'll be back in a second for the end of game recap, kind of go over how this one played out and what we thought about it. So we're back for the end of game recap for part 1 of the Redemption campaign. This one played out pretty good. I'm starting, like I said, I've played enough of games with Penal Legion where I should have learned when we set up this scenario to not play the long table, because going from left to right, as you guys see it on the screen, it's a lot of walking, and you eat a lot of fire as you march up the table. But I kind of balanced out since I had a 250 point advantage for this game, which kind of helped out a little bit, which I think made the game actually even. I think if it would have been a short table edge, I think the advantage would have been way more in my favor, but that doesn't really matter as far as doing the game. What I was thinking was, for my deployment, obviously just build that wall of disgraced officers and conscripts, and let them just push up the table as fast as I could, and try to get them into combat. The one thing I did down here that, looking back at it, I didn't mess it up, but I should have done it. I only moved at the double 10 inches and instead of 12, which I still ate the double fire
the double fire for shooting for going at the double, and I didn't realize it until after I changed I got into like the assault phase or my turn was over. I realized I shortchanged myself 2 inches, which would have got me in the combat a turn earlier, which probably would have helped these guys out a little bit more. So it's just me being a little scatterbrained on that turn cost me a whole bunch of bases, I think is what it was. But like I said, getting back to the game, as I pushed up over here. These guys, I mean, I was able to keep them in with that 2-up motivation between the Commissar and then just their regular 2-up roll. These guys were really going to break up the table, and like I said, I was pinned. Vin had a 5-up motivation that he couldn't make with any platoon on the table. So we just kind of stared at each other the whole time. The downside with these guys, like I said, I can't dig in, so I had to attempt to charge every turn just because there's no reason not to, and Vin just kept getting that defensive fire and it just kept beating the assaults back time after time after time. But they were able to hang around and keep the side of the table occupied pretty well. The mortars down here, like I said, I just wanted to get them in positions to keep supporting these guys. I wasn't really expecting much. I just kind of wanted to keep these units pinned, keep those rifle MGs down to one shot the best that I can, just while I ended up pushing these guys up the table. Up on this flank over here, since there was only one rifle platoon on that hill, these guys had, I don't want to say they had it easy, but they had it easier. I mean, they were eating the mortar fire going up there, but I was able to make some saves and keep my casualties down. And I knew once I kind of got to that hill edge right there, it was just going to be Ura charge after Ura charge. I mean, I had so many guys over there getting into combat. I was able to beat those guys back off the hill. And then I really wasn't worried too much about whatever came in off reserves off that top because I knew I had enough of guys here to weather the storm and then get some sappers in there to take out whatever vehicles ended up coming in over there. The Katyushas back here, they did pretty good. They weren't fantastic. The 48-inch range that I got on them isn't the greatest thing for playing the long table, but they were able to keep those guys pinned up here for the beginning part of the game and kind of do a little bit of damage. And then I was able to move them up, but I didn't get a chance to fire them again after that. So overall, it's a pretty blunt battle plan when you play Penal Legion. It's really just about moving up the table as fast as you can, trying to keep your guys as safe as they can until you start getting into those close assault ranges. And like I said, playing on the long table, if any of you guys ever try this list, if you get a mission where you're going to have to run for 3 or 4 turns before you hit any objectives, it's going to be a long day for you. So, if you're playing short table and you look out with some of the draws for some of those missions, whether it's version 3 or version 4, I don't think it really matters. If you're just going, like I said, from long table edge to long table edge, this list works out a whole lot better. But I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as how things went for you defensively and how the first campaign game went?
It was super fun. 1s and 2s were a little frustrating at one point.
Ones and two. You weren't even rolling 3s and 4s. I think Vin didn't unpin one unit this entire game. Like literally, I needed 5 up for everybody, and he wasn't able to unpin. Yeah, wasn't able to unpin anybody.
But aside from that, I don't think it could have gone better for me. Like with the way I deployed it. Like tiers and then having those guys up front and gradually moving them back.
Yeah, doing a tactical retreat, going back up the table. It like I said, I think it kept you in the game a lot longer and actually gave you a chance for your reserves to get in. Unfortunately for you, that really didn't work out too well.
Oh no, that was
with getting them in.
We were talking before the game even started, and I said one thing that would maybe give me the game is that if I got one of them in early to back up. Conversation.
It would have been made a big deal. I mean, we'll look out for you. Even though those guys came in late, you did get the right table side to get them on, so that was kind of nice as far as getting the half tracks in where you needed them. Like I said, you almost pushed them back off.
It was pretty close.
Yeah, the downside was I was able to make those saves with the sappers. When you came in and shot everybody up.
Yeah, that was...
So that was... Yeah, so I think if I would have lost the sappers, that would have been a different story up there on that hilltop. But like I said, it was enough for them to hold the line.
And, I wanted to add one more thing. This is, a perfect example of what we were talking about in the past games with, version 3 is definitely the more exciting version, I think.
Well, I think it just depends on what you want to play. I know, like I said, for our mindset, we like a slower plotting game with.
Well, your sappers would have never made it.
Yeah, you would have been able to pick guys. Yeah, I guess that is a good point. My specialist guys probably would have gotten picked out a lot easier with the machine gun fire and everything. But yeah, I think for the style that we like to play, I think version 3 works better. I think version 3 works better for a campaign setting because you don't want the quick bang bang games. You kind of want to have your stuff, I guess, go regular speed or a little bit slower. So yeah, I think like and like it'll be for the campaigns. It's going to be version 3 the rest of the way out. If you guys are actually wondering, when we do like narrative games or anything like that, when we start doing the regular games, it depends on really what Vin wants to play when we're here. I'm free either.
Yeah, I'll do version 4 for little pickup games.
Yeah,
version 3 for campaign.
Yeah, and I think that's how we're going to play it. So like I said, everybody at home will be able to get version 3 or version 4, depending on what you want to watch. Just kind of depends. But yeah, so we'll be back probably in a couple weeks to do part 2. Throw some more of these guys. I'm thinking minefields is going to be the theme for
Pioneer
for mission number 2. Well, I'm not going to waste any sappers. We're just going to run right through those minefields. We're not digging anything up, man. We're running through, man. We're tiptoeing through the tulips on that one. So we'll be back a couple weeks for part 2 of the Redemption campaign for the penal battalion, and like I said, the theme will be minefields for that one. So keep an eye out for that. And I believe next week Vin and I are going to take our first foray into battle group. We're gonna probably be doing like 350 to 500 points.
It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, so hopefully we won't screw it up that much. I think we'll do pretty good. I've been hitting the rule book pretty hard, so I think we'll give you guys a decent show for that. It'll be a platoon size game, so we'll have some fun toys on the table, some stuff that you guys probably haven't seen before. So we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments, maybe some ideas you guys have for the campaign for the next couple games, maybe some stuff that you guys want to see added into it. So we'll be back later. Thanks for watching.